Hello, Carolyn and Tim. Welcome to I Know Bread Podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being a sponsor in the first one. Yeah. I really appreciate that. What inspired you guys to start Classic Convertible Wine Tours?
Well, we were both in the corporate world. So I was a policy analyst in the government, and then he was a head scientist, and we just got tired, burned out of the corporate world. And this business came available, and we both love the vintage retro feel and classic cars, and so we jumped on it.
Yeah, to give you an idea about vintage, in our house, we've still got vinyl record players. I still prefer a manual transmission car. Right, so all things retro, vintage, that appeals to us quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to use that skill set, that passion, to help others kind of relive and recapture the moments of youth or past times gone.
Yeah. Do you guys just have the one car, or do you guys have a few?
We have 4, but they're all the same type of car. The big difference is the interior color. So we have a tan one and like a kind of blue grayish, a couple blue gray ones, and then a light gray one.
And then we have 7 in restoration.
Wow.
Hopefully we'll make them the hard top, and then...
Yeah, ultimately the goal is a winter fleet, right?
Yeah.
Because right now there's some sort of seasonality with what we do, but the ones that we want to restore will have their tops so that we can do, winter weddings and stuff like that. Because a lot of times, when we pick up a bride, it's 10:30 at night, and so she's freezing. In summertime it's hot, but in the evening it's cold.
Yeah.
Right. So we deal with some of that.
Do you guys have a lot of before wedding rides that you do, or is it typically just the exit?
So far, it's just been the exit. After the reception, after the dancing, the good time, it's usually the exit. But we do also offer photo packages where we would come out during the day or in the morning, maybe the day before.
We actually encourage that, to book a separate time to take pictures in front of the car, to capture the beauty of the car and have that backdrop for the bride and groom.
Actually, one wedding, we got there for the whole thing. So they parked us on the lawn, and they went through the ceremony. They were able to come out to the car and take pictures with the bridal party. Fun. So that was a pretty good experience as well.
Yeah. Something I was just thinking about. Do you guys do I don't want to say bachelor part or bachelorette part, girls?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. That sounds like it'd be so much fun.
So her roommates actually came into town. It wasn't wedding related, but roommates came into town and we took them. We did a spa day, so they got their nails done.
Nice.
Their toenails done, and then drove them around for ice cream. So it was just a good girls' day.
Yeah. We put you can hook up your music. Your own music, and so we hooked up our music. We put on that song "Girls Just Want to Have Fun," and we're just jamming, having a good time, and so memorable.
Yeah,
it's a fun time.
On the wine tour side of things, do you have a loop that you do, or do you just go to one typically?
Well, it's completely customizable depending on what the guest wants. Some people prefer certain wineries over another, and some people say, hey, can you just plan this for me? I have this occasion, or just because. And so really it just depends. We do go to Sunny Slope Wine Trail, but we also do Eagle and urban wineries in Garden City.
Yeah, and one of the things that we like to be able to do and to let our customers know about is, we try to simplify their lives, right? So if they spend all this time planning, that's a big time commitment, right? But that gets shifted to us. We do the planning for them, and then they just show up and they have their good time.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of just a little perk of going through us, is that is a possibility. It's not every person doesn't want that. We have a couple of customers that say, nope, I want this. I want it to happen in this way and at this time. And we're like, all right.
Yeah.
We'll try to accommodate if that's okay.
Yeah. If somebody does want you guys to do it, how would you guys curate a tour?
Well, I'd first ask, what kind of wine do you prefer? If you prefer the sweeter wines, I would say, well, Saint Chapelle offers great sweet wines, just kind of depending on their preferences. If they prefer the more smaller, intimate settings, we have a few of our favorites that we like to go to. But it kind of just depends on our customers, on our guests, what their preferences are.
That's fair. How many would you say people typically go to if they do multiple?
Probably 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, it depends on what they want to do.
3 is about the prime number, because it's enough to get your fill of good beverages, but then at the same time, it's not overkill, where you wake up in the morning like, oh,
That was
that's poor life choices. So we
Yeah.
find about 3 wineries is ideal. And usually what that means is there's some travel time picking them up, wherever they start and in their destination, and then some travel time between the wineries. So it typically is about 5 hours.
About an hour at each winery, and so they don't feel rushed in between. That's what we found the perfect wine tour.
I'm not a wine person, but I'm like, this sounds so much fun.
That is one of the challenges, right? Is there's a lot of people that just don't like wine. So one of the things we've talked about is maybe doing like a microbrewery tour or something that would appeal to the non-wine drinkers, or whether, maybe like a smoothie tour.
How did the wine part come about, like, versus just doing like a luxury car service?
So that came with the business.
Okay.
That was the business
You
model.
did tell me that.
Yeah, we bought it from Napa, California,
Okay.
where it's a huge wine region.
Right.
And that's how they were operating.
Okay.
And so we kind of just transferred that model here and have picked up other businesses.
Okay, I do remember we did talk about that. I forgot. What's the most unique experience your tour offers that guests wouldn't get elsewhere?
Well, we offer historic tours in the car, romantic getaways for anniversaries people that want to just elevate their anniversary to the next level.
Yeah.
With dinner. We could pick them up at their home and take them to dinner, a nice dinner, and bring them back. And that's something that they can't get anywhere else.
Do you guys have drivers, or are you guys the drivers?
Right now, we're still in early stage operations, and so we do driving, but we also have a full-on driver. And a lot of people love Howard. He's older, he's near retirement age, but he's fun and just real personable. So people really enjoy when Howard drives, and they tell me all the time, "Oh man, I had such a great time with Howard." He's a strong asset. And then to bounce off the unique opportunities, right? The car itself is very unique, right? Because there's not really anything else like it in our valley, let alone in other parts of the country. So it's convertible, but it's also like a classic limo, right? It's not a standard limo; it's a classic car limo. And as far as products, one of the other things, if we get enough interest, we've talked about doing scenic tours. So whether that's along the river or, maybe to Idaho City. And that, again, is very unique, right? Because you're going through the mountains, you've got the trees, but the top's down, the wind is in your hair, and you're really like feeling the experience.
Yeah, that is. I was looking up here. I was like, maybe there's a good shot of the car, but
Yeah, it's not in those pictures.
I'll insert a photo.
Yeah.
So send me one.
Sure.
What kind of guests typically book your tours? Locals or travel enthusiasts or just out-of-staters?
Yeah, so far it's locals. How the business operated previously was a lot of inbound travelers. And we're definitely not opposed to that, right? Because Boise is kind of an up-and-coming area. People are starting to discover it. So that gives us an opportunity to sort of tap into that market. Yeah. And then we kind of have 2 clienteles, right? For our weddings specifically, it's very much young people. With our wine tours, we find it's often a lot of older couples that are, they get together with their friends once or twice a month and they go do things.
Yeah.
Right. So we kind of have the 2 separate groups of target audience.
Do you feel like that is easy to navigate, or is it kind of...
Well, it can be a challenge, right? Because communicating to one party versus the other party, somebody that's just starting life versus somebody that's, ending life. They've lived a lot of life. They've had a lot of experience. So communicating to those 2 different groups is a very much, it's a skill.
Yeah.
And we're still learning that skill, obviously, and every day.
Yeah, you can definitely see the mixture of photos of our wedding photos and our wine tour photos, both on our website and on our social media. If you scroll through our posts, there's definitely the mixture there.
How do you ensure a great experience for wine lovers versus those who might be new to wine tasting?
I think, again, it goes back to the planning of it. And so I call myself the wine concierge because I help do the plan, the itinerary, and I'm the one that makes the reservations. And so for those wine lovers that come to us and say, hey, I I know wine. This is kind of, they typically come to us and have it spelled out of what they want to do. And then those that are new to wine tasting, we're very aware of that and can help guide them to which maybe wineries to start out with. And so we're just sensitive to needs and desires.
Do you guys book like a consultation call? Is that where you get the information, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So typically, people will reach out to us and they'll, whether they ask for a quote or whatever, and whether it's an email consultation or a phone call consultation, both of those kind of things happen. But that's where we kind of get a feel of who they are and what they like, right? Because it's really their journey, right? It's really about their experience, what they like, what our customers like. It's not about us, it's about you guys. And then the other thing too that we try to focus on is it's about simple things done well, right? Simple things done well. We open the door, right? We offer a hand to allow people to step up into the car. During our Christmas light tours, we have comfy blankets. So it's little things that just kind of make people stop and say, this is slightly better. This is much better, right, than a normal experience or just me driving in my car.
Yeah.
Like we have wine glasses in the door, the flute one, the beautiful flute glasses, and then along between the driver and the passengers, there's more wine glasses, and we offer sparkling cider with each ride. So whether they're bride and groom, if it's a wedding pickup or if it's a wine tour, each of them get the sparkling cider and we pour it, the driver pours it right into the glasses, or they can use the wine glasses if they purchase wine at the wineries. And so just simple things done well. I think that was well.
What do you think is a small detail that makes the biggest difference, or just a big difference in general?
Well, I think it's that what I just said. It's the simple things, but it's not just that they are simple; it's that they're done well.
Yeah.
And they're done, in a way that just helps people feel like we care, right? Which we do. We care about your journey. Because again, it's about you, it's about your comfort. Sometimes it gets a little warm, so sometimes during the summer we've offered like a neck cooler, right, for some people that get a little warm,
or put the top up. We've definitely stopped the car and put the top up. Or after the bride and groom leave the venue, we'll stop 5 minutes later to put the top up for the bride who's cold, or just little things like that to help their comfort.
What do you feel like the best time is to tour seasonally?
Definitely as spring and fall, but again, part of our goal is to be able to run year round, because people like to do things year round, whether that's anniversary dinner or an actual wine tour. Weddings, they're happening all year round. Right now, springtime, fall time, it's a little cooler. It's not too cold, not too hot.
And he briefly mentioned our Griswold Christmas light tours. And so that happened November, December time. And we picked up guests and went around neighborhoods with a lot of Christmas lights. And that was a lot of fun. And so people can book the car for certain special occasions or Christmas light tours. I mean, really there's a lot of different possibilities that they could book the car.
Yeah. What is your favorite season to do it in specifically?
Probably right now. It's like 70s, 60s, 70s. It's nice.
Nice and sunny.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a memorable experience or funny story?
Well, so a lot of our customers are celebrating big milestones, right? So we've had people celebrating birthdays and anniversaries or retirements or whatever, weddings, right? They're celebrating something special and they want to remember it in a special way, right? So that's why they'll reach out to us. Something that's not generic. So one group of ladies were celebrating a 40th birthday. So we were doing a wine tour for them, and they all decided to dress up as the Golden Girls, right? Now, granted, 40 is not old.
No.
But they wanted to celebrate it that way, and so they were all, dressed up. We only had one wig casualty, which was actually pretty impressive. There were 6 women with wigs.
Wow.
And it wasn't until like the last 5 minutes that a wig flew off.
Wig down.
We call that one a success. Only one wig casualty.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But we got some testimonials of that specific wine tour, and they were just laughing and having a good old time together.
And that one was actually a good time to go too. It was later in the fall, and so there was sunflower field right next to one of the wineries. We were able to stop and get some pictures there.
But for me, most memorable, so I'm typically not the driver. I'm the behind the scenes coordinating things, making reservations, talking to customers. But our 3 and 2-year-old sometimes help detail with the car. And so one of my most memorable is when our 3-year-old has the little vacuum and he's vacuuming up the afterward. Yes.
Holding his stuffed animal.
Yeah, holding his stuffed vacuuming.
That's so cute. Mine's getting into this stage where he very much wants to help. Which is great, and I want to like encourage that, but sometimes it's like, good thing I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting into the logistics side of things, how many people can you guys accommodate at one time?
Each car fits up to 6 passengers, but we have 4 operationable, so that's 24 guests. And so you can think big, you can think wedding parties that want to go from the church to the venue. You can think big bachelorette parties or corporate events, you know, and so it's great range.
Yeah. What safety precautions do you guys have in place?
We generally do pre-trip safety checks, right? So we'll check the oil, we'll check the tire pressure. We make sure that our drivers that their driving record is clean at all times. There's no drugs or alcohol allowed for the drivers, right? So those things are all standard. Right now, because it's a limo, there are no seat belts required. I personally would like to get them installed just, you know, as an extra safety feature. But again, we make sure that we're vigilant, you know, that we're not aggressively driving, make sure that the weather is not too impactful. You know, we canceled some trips because it was snowing during our Christmas light tour, and you know, just taking all the precautions that we can.
No standing up while the vehicle is in motion. I mean, you know, just simple things like that. And then no children under 8 because of the no seatbelt.
Yeah.
No car seats.
No boost.
Do you guys partner with any local businesses or wineries to create like an exclusive experience?
We're actually working on that right now.
It's in progress, what we're working on, but we're not quite there yet.
That's fair. A little teaser.
Yeah,
it's something to look forward to. How do you maintain and restore your convertibles?
So we purchased the business. Part of what came with that was extra parts and pieces. And so the other week I had to replace the power steering pump, right? But I had a stash of power steering pumps. So we're able to do that. And then again, some of the stuff, you know, while the shell is a 1947, it's been modified. So it's got newer engine, newer suspension. So all of that stuff is a lot more readily available than had we left it completely original. But typically, one of the things we do before we go on a trip is we make sure the car's washed, right? So just simple things like that help keep it on the road longer. I already mentioned, you know, we do our regular oil checks and maintenance and have our logs.
Do you do all the maintenance yourself or do you take it in?
Yep, right now that falls on me.
I was going to say, I don't imagine many places, I mean, you've updated it.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I don't imagine many places would specialize in that.
And ultimately the goal is that we get start building our team, you know, building our team in place with marketing and sales and strategic, you know, that would include hopefully a mechanic and stuff like that. But, you know, we're still, like I said, we're still right at the beginning of our business lives.
I can relate to that. Kind of going back to the wine thing, sorry. Do you have a personal favorite winery or just a wine region, like you said? Is that Canyon County or is that?
Yeah, it's Canyon County, but it's technically Caldwell.
Yeah.
And it's right along the river, you know, between Caldwell and Marsing. That's where the wine region is.
Well, funny enough, we don't drink wine, but as far as wineries go, I prefer the wineries that have a beautiful view. And so
like the ones out there.
Yeah, Sunny Slope. Dunning has a beautiful view of Lizard Butte Mountain there. And so it's one of a kind. I don't think any other winery has that view. But just, you know, Saint Chapelle and the beautiful valley and the orchards and vineyards there are just stunning.
And that's one of the perks of riding with us as well is, you know, when we're going in spring or fall or summertime, right, things are blooming and blossoming. So as you're driving by, you can smell the mint fields, you know, you can smell the peach blossoms, all that stuff as you're going by. So it's more like a 4D experience versus just in a stuffy old car or whatever.
I'm sold, and like I said, don't even drink wine.
And for me, preferable, I actually enjoy the science of wine more than anything. So it's like, when do you add the fermenting bacteria? When do you add oxygen or take oxygen? Looking at the pH levels of the soil and the atmosphere and the rain and all that stuff that grows the grapes that have different sugar profiles. That's more what I enjoy.
Yeah.
When we're talking to a customer, their eyes start glazing over like, what did you just say?
Do you still notice that with like the wine aficionados?
Some of them start glazing over, but not too many of them. Most of the time, they're in the back and they're just kind of enjoying. So a lot of times they're not really asking the driver's opinion.
Do you have a hidden gem on your tour that people might not know about? Or on a tour?
I don't know that it's hidden. Everything, the Sunny Slope Wine Trail has about 30 wineries. So unless you'd call that hidden, which it's becoming more exposed.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it's funny because a lot of people in even our area don't really know that it exists.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's still an up and coming wine region. So it's like, is it there? Is it not? A lot of people don't make it out past Caldwell very often because, Caldwell tends to have a bad rap sometimes.
Yeah. But Marcin's cute.
Right.
Yeah.
And shameless plug, but I really like the White House drive-in in Marcin.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the best milkshakes. Yeah. My husband goes hunting in the Owyhees, and so I always make him stop there. And he likes it too, so I mean, it works. Another thing, sorry, now that we're on it, I love Chicken Dinner Road. Like, it's actually it's like a little roller coaster. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And you're driving right through the orchards on that road, and it's a good time.
But yeah, as far as hidden gems, I would say the Sunny Slope Wine Trail itself, driving through that, and then the driver always makes a point to go by the lake.
Or the
lake, somewhere because people want to get out and take pictures in front of the car. And
Yeah.
I think that's really special and adds to their experience.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys stop on the Nampa side or the Caldwell side typically?
It depends.
Lake?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, typically, like, we drive along the Caldwell side where the dam is.
Yeah.
Because that's right on the way to...
I think that's the prettier side anyways. How do you work with wineries to enhance the tasting experience for your guests? Or is that something that's part of what's coming?
Well, yeah, it's definitely in the works. It's definitely in the works.
Well, for example, like 3100 Cellars, they're one of the Eagle wineries, and they've got their facilities on site where they do a lot of their wine pressing and a lot of the fermentation that I was talking about earlier. And so if you ask, they'll actually give you a tour of some of those places, right? So that's something more than you just show up and sit at your table, right? Because that's just kind of restaurants. So some of the wineries do that. Some of that have those features, or they'll take you, out into the grape fields and say, here's our different growing varieties and stuff like that.
I don't know if the wine community has many trends, but do you guys see any trends that you're liking right now?
Well, the interesting thing about the wine industry is, just as a whole, our society is, kind of moving away from just raging drunkenness, right? There's a lot of dry bars popping up. There's a lot more concern with socio-ecological, all these concerns about the environment. So generally, people are starting to trend towards, not these big box conglomerate wines, but people who actually, care about their growing process, people who want to be educated in the wine industry, right, versus just going and enjoying, right? So that's kind of the trend, is more educational aspect of wine and, everything else that goes on into that versus I just like my red or my white.
Do you see I know we talked about the microbreweries. Do you see any trends in that aspect?
We haven't looked really into that yet because, like I said, that's, if there's interest, we'll do it. But so far, we haven't had any bites on it.
I feel like that would be like a fun thing to do. So maybe this helps spark the idea.
Yeah, we've definitely had customers ask, like, hey, there's people in our party who only prefer beer.
Yeah.
Is there any wineries that offer beer? And so,
Are there?
Yeah.
Oh,
there
that's
are
good.
some.
Yeah.
There's also a few, that serve food. One of them has like a wood-fired pizza, and one out near Parma has some kind of steaks and some stuff like that. And so there are some that have food and other types of beverages, and some, don't have a lot of that stuff.
Switching it a little bit, these are more fun and personal questions. If you could take any celebrity on one of your tours, who would it be and why?
I haven't thought about that.
That's okay. We can skip it and do a different one.
Well, to give you an idea, so this company was operating in California beforehand. They did actually have the celebrities come. And they said, sometimes celebrities are just very normal, down-to-earth people, and other times they're very much staunch and kind of snooty, right? So it's variable. But the thing that was important, if celebrities come knocking, is that they never disclosed. They never said, hey, guys, guess what? We're going to have Jim Carrey come sit in our car, right? It was always private. It was always just, just to maintain. I'm sure celebrities get tired of being bombarded with people, and just like anybody else, they want to enjoy their experience.
Yeah. Something I think I've always kind of known this, like growing up here, but there's a lot of celebrities who have either homes in Idaho or like vacation spots in Idaho, and like you'd never know.
Right, and we actually have a certain part of our website that says, hey, if you're a VIP celebrity, let us know, and we can help, have that experience where it's very private and nobody knows about it. Let us know.
Well, and somebody who's been here a lot recently, and you don't know he's here until he's here, is Post Malone.
Yeah.
He was, you're familiar with Melba? He was at a bar in Melba, and it was like this like hole in the wall. Nobody knew until like somebody posted on like the Melba Facebook group or whatever. Like, he's at Cook's, and it's like you would never expect. And then he went to Indian Creek afterwards. But it's so interesting. Like, why Idaho?
I mean, it's interesting too, right? Because Stanley is a major attraction for billionaires, right? Mark Zuckerberg's been here like 10 or so times, and they all come during summertime, and they talk about business strategies and goals and stuff like that. So.
Stanley, Haley, Ketchum, like that whole, and it's beautiful there. Like if I could like live there, my only thing is the snow.
Yeah, her sister lived there for a while in Haley, and that's what she said. Like eventually it just gets cold, and there's nothing else. It's just cold.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah. If I could have a summer home there, I would. But like you said, like it's a hot spot for rich people, so maybe the magazine will blow up.
Yeah, there you go.
So for somebody who hasn't necessarily tried wine or is a beginner in wine, what would you say is like a good first wine to try?
Oh, that's a difficult question, right? Because everybody has their unique taste profiles.
That's fair.
Whether it's, a lot of the feedback that we get is, I don't like sweeter wines. I like dry wines. Or a lot of the feedback is, red, no thanks. Give me the whites. So as a new person, our recommendation is simply give it a try.
Oh, okay.
Right? Test it. That's what we have to tell a 3-year-old, right? Just
give
it a try.
That's true.
And that's what's good about the wine tours is because it comes with a flight and it comes with the 3-ounce pours, and you get to try a little bit and then try actually which ones you like. And some of the wineries have wine of the day, and to branch out your taste bud profile even more.
Yeah.
The other cool thing about our area is we've got some diversity. So our climate is very good for grape growing just because we have hot days and cool nights. So we also have our soil, but we also have some of our wineries that import. So
really?
So they get their wines from Oregon, and a couple other places around. So it's like a melting pot. You get your Idaho local wines, and each winery has their distinct flavors, but you also have some imports from Oregon and some from Washington and some from California still. So it's like, oh wow, there's a lot for me to try here and experience here.
And that's really nice because it's not like you're just going to go buy, maybe like somebody new wouldn't just go buy a bottle of wine just to try it. But the fact that they bring all that in, that's really nice. Do you have any exciting updates you can share that you guys are doing?
Well, again, we're looking at expansion of products and packages. Right now, our biggest focus has been the wine tours and the weddings, right? But we're open to the microbreweries, right? We're open to the scenic tours, right? So that's kind of the direction that we're going. Is it's more than just wine. It's more than just weddings. You know, we're very versatile, you know, lots of options type of company.
Yeah.
And that's what we're working on.
Yeah. Wrapping up, I have two questions. They kind of go hand in hand. You can answer it however you like. I'll just read them both. If you could give every couple one piece of advice before their big day, what would it be? And then what's one piece of advice you'd give to couples just starting their wedding planning journey?
Yeah, I was just we actually practiced this question.
Oh, good. Good. Perfect.
And I was thinking about probably one of our first customers who was so excited to book a classic car for his wedding, and it just gave us a glowing review and sent us photos actually afterward. And he just was like, I am so grateful for you guys. Like having the classic car there was probably the most memorable, part of our wedding. And we just look back on it so fun. I can't wait to book again for our anniversary.
Yeah.
And so I would say, pick, you're not going to get everything for your wedding, but maybe pick your top three, like, what's it called? Non-negotiables. Like, I have to have these top three things. And for that couple, they wanted a classic car. And that just really stood out to them for the wedding.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
I default to the 4 Fs, which is food, fun, family, and friends. Right. Those things are key for long-lasting relationships. Of course, there's
the only part you're going to remember anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always another F, but we've got a kids show here. So. Right, but it's about food. It's about having fun with your spouse. It's about the family, right?
Yeah.
When you get married, you don't just marry the girl or the guy. You marry the family. You have to go do the family reunions and all the things, right? It's all part of that package. And as long as you can keep those things going and keep them from becoming stale, you can have a lasting relationship. Last week celebrated our 6-year anniversary.
Is that how long you guys have been married or together?
Yeah,
Married.
how long
Both.
we've been married.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Yes, thanks for having us. We love your work. We love your magazine.
Thank you.